Spared from Tropical Storm Isaac, but Louisiana is now bracing for the worst, declaring a state of emergency. The latest models show that Isaac is zeroing in on the Gulf Coast, the same region, of course, devastated by Hurricane Katrina 7 years ago tomorrow. Here first on CNBC, Republican Senator David Vitter of Louisiana. Senator, good to have you with us. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Carl. Good to be with you.
I'm not sure whether to be heartened or not by the relative weakness, I guess. I mean, relative to some of the fears here. Army Corps says it's not going to test the design limits of the levees. Is it too soon to breathe a sigh of relief?
Well, we're all hopeful that it will remain weak, but we're all also taking it seriously, preparing for the worst, taking every precaution as we should.
How would you characterize the Army Corps' preparedness? How would you characterize FEMA's preparedness?
Well, I'll know a lot more about the Corps in a day or two because I'm actually going to go into their headquarters, get embedded with them today, spend the storm and the night with them just to see how the whole system that they're in charge of performs under these conditions. Hopefully this will not be much of a test of that new post-Katrina system, but it will be important to observe, and so I wanted to be there at their headquarters.
They're still talking about a 12-foot storm surge, and as we know, the levees are really beholden to the rain, not the wind. So 70 miles an hour might seem encouraging, but a storm that doesn't move quickly over you guys will not be as encouraging.
Yeah, the rain could be the biggest story at the end of the day. We'll see. And of course, the city of New Orleans in particular has to pump all that rain out over the levees to clear the streets, so that could be a challenge.
And Senator, that likely would mean a lot of flooding. What protections exist for those homeowners who will be most affected by that?
Well, if it's flooding from rain, the issue will be pumping capacity, which is local government in conjunction with the Corps, pumping capacity to get that water out. You know, at some point, heavy torrential rain, the pumps can't keep up. These are the biggest pumps in the world, literally. But at some point, with extremely heavy rain, they can't keep up, and there is some street or even modest home flooding. We'll have to see.
And what about flood insurance for those who are affected?
Well, everybody here depends on the National Flood Insurance Program. Thank goodness, just a couple of months ago, we finally got a long-term 5-year reauthorization of that program, so we have some stability in the real estate markets and in that program. That's important for the country, certainly important for South Louisiana.
Obviously in Tampa, Senator, they want to throw a party, right? You want it to be an energetic showcase for the party overall. How do they ride that balance given the knowledge of what you're going to be going through over the next 24, 48 hours?
Well, first of all, I'm sure folks will be very sensitive to set the right tones, starting with Mitt Romney himself. Secondly, hopefully this will be a relatively minimal hurricane event. Again, we're taking it very seriously, taking all precautions to mind, but hopefully at the end of the day, it'll be a relatively minimal hurricane event.
What, in terms of the convention itself, what are you most looking forward to? I mean, expectations are high for Governor Christie's speech tonight, obviously Ann Romney, but there continues to be this debate about where exactly the platform needs to fall.
Well, I think the average American is not going to be worried about the fine points of the platform. They just want a gut sense of who they see, starting with Mitt and Ann Romney. And I think that visual and that gut sense and that gut feel for them as people, as human beings, is the most important thing. But having said that, quite frankly, I have a feeling I'm not going to be watching a whole lot of the convention, at least maybe until Thursday night. I'll be hunkered down with the storm.
Yeah.
Does it, Senator, complicate the GOP's message at all that this convention falls at a time when looking at efforts in Louisiana or across the Gulf require a big help from the federal government to make sure that protections are in place and that there are relief funds for those who need them?
I don't think so. Look, nobody thinks the federal government should go away. A lot of people, including me, think the federal government should be smaller and leaner and do fewer things a whole lot better. In my opinion, a major problem with the federal government is it doesn't have only one program for every conceivable need. It has 4 or 5, and as a result, it does very few things well. I think we need to focus on the essentials of what the federal government is really about and do those right, do those well, and that will always include major disaster relief.
Well, speaking of government, Senator, the president's going to talk at the top of the hour. Some in the market think he might reference the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. If that, in fact, happens, would you be in favor? You got a lot of oil interests in your state.
I would not be, because unfortunately I think it would be playing presidential year politics with a national security asset. You know, that reserve was created for really national security and other major precautions to have a hedge against bad things. This event certainly doesn't rise to Katrina or anything else. I think it would be an excuse as a trigger more than a real valid reason.
Senator, we'll be thinking of you over the next couple of days. Thanks for coming to the camera.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Vitter, of Louisiana. When we